How's it going, everyone? Session here. Welcome to a Final Fantasy XIV article cover. Now, there were a multitude of articles released throughout the day today, so we will be covering them in different parts just to kind of keep it concise. And so this is going to be the first part of one of the articles that are going to get covered. And so this one is from 4Gamer. It's going to be talking about the future of transformation and evolution in the content, asking Yoshi P about FF14 for patch 7.4 beyond. So, of course, if you don't know already, Into the Mist patch 7.4 coming to us very soon, December 16th. We only have about like 12 more days away from now when this actually does get released, and it's leading up to a lot of incredible hype. Of course, as we get closer and closer to that date, the live letter is officially tomorrow morning, like less than 12 hours away from now, I believe it is, right? And we are going to be getting ourselves settled in very quickly because there's going to be a lot of things to cover. The first part of live letter already covered a good myriad of content. The biggest announcement, of course, being that glamour restriction. Keep on talking about it because I know everyone is so excited, and of course, like the more we kind of go through it, the more it's kind of like it's like so surreal that's actually happening. But of course, there are things that are also coming to light. So recently, we just got the dungeon gear reveal, which was also really cool, very mysterious and very interesting. And they also just revealed the Tomestone gear. So if you want to try and get the Tome Weekly gear, that was also revealed. It's kind of like steampunky, people have been saying. Looks really, really cool. So I'm very excited to find out about that. And of course, all that gear will be available for every single class too, which is also even more exciting. Now, of course, there are a lot of things that we're going to have to keep an eye out for. And this article, I believe, is going to talk about specifically the Arcadia heavyweight tier, because that'll be the final raid tier for the entire expansion. And we'll find out more about it as we read on. So let's get started. Alrighty, this patch includes Arcadia Heavyweight, the final chapter of the popular 8-person raid series Arcadia, and a new variant dungeon with eye-catching distinctive visuals, in addition to merchant story, etc. Will be implemented. The system will also be updated, including major changes to specifications of the Mirage Prism, which has been in place for many years. Oh, right, okay, so Mirage Prism is a glamour update. Okay, cool. Let's see now. Before this implementation, the producer and director, Mr. Nikushita, focusing on the content of this update, we heard about the development side's efforts to change their mindset starting with patch 7.3, as well as the future direction of FF14 transformation and evolution. In this article, I will share with you the details. Perfect. Whew, I still can't believe that like the restrictions getting removed for glam. So it's still like kind of like mind blowing to think about, you know what I mean? So let's get started. Restrictions on armor projection has by class and just been probably eased. I don't know how to read that word. Thank you for your support today. In the past 7.2 interview, he talked about creating more fun content if we all play together. And in past 7.3 interview, he talked about changing the mindset of the developers. I think you were, Don, creating this patch while your new policy took on a more concrete form. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? Okay. Oh, I see. I'd love to. 7.4 is not the only thing you just talk about. At 7.3 starting, we will continue to make even greater improvements and evolutions. And even if there is a next expansion package for the Golden Legacy, we will gradually introduce what we can now rather than just cramming into it. I'm going to go. Okay, the translation's interesting. For example, patch 7.4 implements a new user interface, the quick panel. Yep, which is going to be very, very cool, which is the result of a desire to make the game more user-friendly. The specifications of the variant dungeon, merchant, and customer story have been changed from the previous version, but we're working on to changing and innovating it in the way that you play it and the playing experience. Since these efforts have only just begun, I cannot clearly state that they will be like this in the future. Huh. Okay. I think that okay, so I think if they're just talking about the variant dungeon specifically, I think one of the challenges of the variant dungeon right now is the way that how it kind of works, because I think that what they mentioned before is like how they just kind of cram content into patches and kind of like release it. I think having like a steady flow of like when to release content becomes incredibly valuable, especially when it can be helpful to create a more like experience, a more like flowing experience in terms of like that gradual progression of the patch, right? Sometimes when they deliver things, they just kind of give it to you in like waves, which works, but other times it feels like sometimes parts of those patches of content should come even sooner and other parts can wait until like much later. To give like a quick and easy example, the Chaotic Alliance raid that we got with Cloud of Darkness was incredible, absolutely stellar content, and it came out in the 0.1 patch. Now, I think that's fine, right? Like later on after the release of the Ultimate, but because the value of that gear was so helpful in the Ultimate as well, for example, I think that it coming out later than it should have may have been. I mean, people are still really like doing it very frequently, which is great, but um, I think it kind of leads back into the idea of horizontal progression for raiders alike. So people want to be able to do the content and have fun with it, and I think that the way that they can make that work would be like very valuable. I think the same thing will be tested. We'll see how the efforts go for patch 7.4, because we're getting a new variant dungeon on top of the Savage Raid tier, and that's kind of the gist of it, right? Now, the thing is that the dungeon gear will also not be good for the raid tier by any means, right? It's just kind of like a catch-up situation. But the variant gear has an opportunity to be gear you can bring to Savage Raiding and actually use it to work on building like the eventual best in slot. Because I'm assuming that the ultimate is coming out in 7.5, and so being able to work on building like that gear set that'll apply to that will be super helpful. But if it doesn't do that, then I think that some players are like, okay, well, it's fine, like we're used to it already, or other people will see it as a missed opportunity. So personally for me, I'd like to think that the variant dungeon will have gear that you can progressively work towards that can compete with other gear pieces like the tomes and the raid gear, especially after what was discussed in the previous articles about people who are not necessarily like involved in raiding but have those weekly tomes and they don't really have much of a use for it aside from just like getting the gear. So if you can kind of like spread that ability to like acquire that gear, that'd be pretty cool, I think. So I'm hoping that the variant dungeon offers that kind of opportunity for players such as myself who wants to do the content and can get rewarded for it, instead of just doing it like a one-time thing. I think a lot of people who play this game want to be able to play this game and play it repeatedly, and I think that's something that they're trying to like take into account now than they have before, but we won't really know until the patch actually gets released, so it's just too soon to say. Okay, I think new content for each patch is important, but at the same time it's also important to improve the play experience. Yes, I agree, and as a result of the support of the Warriors of Light, the amount of new content and systems we have accumulated over the past 12 years since our new creations are enormous. However, it's not just 7.4 but the 7.5 and beyond. I think we've reached a stage where we need to check our pointing again. FF14 has been a great success as an MMORPG and has been played by many people. Up until now, this has been fine, but if we simply cut out and compare the period immediately after birth and present, the life cycles of everyone playing with us are changing, and even our lives are changing. That's true, because I know that with a lot of players as well, once Endwalker completed like the saga in its entirety, a lot of folks did just retire from playing 14. Not because they like didn't like the game anymore, it's because like the game has been in play for some people for 10 plus years, and some folks are still playing it to this day, and some people are like, well, I want to play other games, and a commitment like an MMO is kind of tough for some folks, so it's understandable. So it's like leaving it off in like at a good note, But again, like sometimes when those things do change, like new people come out and come in all the time, right? So it just depends. But I think it just depends on how you want to like perceive the game. So like for me, I have no problem continuously playing this game. I feel like I'm always heavily driven to want to play it. So the only time I think that I'll actually stop playing it is if the game just has no more updates to provide. But it doesn't seem like that's gonna be the case for like another 10 years. So like we'll see. But again, like to his point, the people's lifestyles are changing frequently, so it's important to obviously figure out how to keep up. So we'll see. The quantity and quality of entertainment content that is abundant in the world has changed significantly. Looking at the online game market, the absolute number of MMORPGs has decreased, but some titles have been released since the new FF14, and the number of online RPGs on smart devices has also increased significantly. This is a very valid point. A lot of games are a lot of people think that the MMO genre is dying, from what I've understood and heard. And I'm not saying that I agree or disagree. I just think that some games have to be able to constantly figure out a way to keep you like in grip, because I think people still play like a lot of World of Warcraft, right? So like there's that too. So I think it's perfectly fine and normal for a game to exist for decades on end and like not have like a end date, or there isn't like a real need to make like a new game. Although I think some people may feel that way, but I think that if there's just a way to appeal to the player base that enables them to constantly play this game and feel like that drive or excitement to keep on playing, then there really isn't much of a need to make a new game. But I can understand it though, but I don't think so, because like 11's another prime example where like they're actually adding new things to the game now that it's been around for so long, right? From what I've understood. So it's possible for an MMO to exist for 20 plus years and it'd be like perfectly normal, but like will 14 hit that mark point? I mean, we're already halfway there, so I mean, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of figuring it out. Also, like the mobile thing is different too, because like this game's been around for like since the PS3 era, right? So they need to figure out a way to like update it, because it's still using like a PS3 engine. It hasn't been really tapped into outside of like some graphical changes, and like what they do is tackle what they can with the current format of the game. And I feel like I don't know how it'll work for them, but if they're able to create an update that lets them work on something major in the back end, but then just kind of copy and paste everything from the current like visual aesthetic of the game into a newer engine, for example, then I wonder how that'll play out. But I understand that it will take like months for that kind of implementation. So like who knows if they're working on that in the background, but I feel like there will be a point eventually where they can no longer use the current engine. And maybe the next expansion is part of the experience, but like who knows? So we'll see. The progress of online RPG titles that have been played on mobile devices over the past few years has been amazing. In that case, of course, after playing such a title, some people will play 14. However, when comparing snaps from 12 years ago with modern snaps, games, okay, I think some of them are clearly outdated. See, I think that I would almost argue that 14 is, it sounds really harsh to say that it's outdated, but I just think that it's not up to date. It's not like super behind, but it's not like ahead of the curve, It's like in a place where it kind of teeters back and forth depending on like what it is, because just the way how the game works and operates is like a little bit questionable. But I mean, there are certain other games that like their technology is like extraordinarily impressive, and I think for an MMO this game is also extremely impressive. But other games are coming out now that are more impressive than this game, and I think that's the telling point that people are paying attention to. And I think the bigger challenge is that the mobile version of this game is another prime example of that too, where there are things that are coming out in that mobile game that I think a lot of people are like, why doesn't the PC version have this? Like, it's crazy actually, right? Like hairstyles or like the ideas and glam and that sort of thing. And so people are wondering, like, because the technology of 14 is behind, that it could be part of that situation. And I think that's where the truth kind of comes into play. But again, all the more reason why for hope that we can try to expect that they might try to find a way to improve that experience. So fingers crossed. So we'll see. If you've been playing 14 for a long time, you'll be thinking it can't be helped because it's a long-running title. However, not only those who are starting to play the game, but also those who are currently playing the game are inspired by other titles. Yep, you see. And there are some parts that can't be helped because they have been around for a long time, and I'm sure that it will come out. So I'll do what I can now as soon as I can, depending on the product. It may take about half a year. Okay. But we will look again at the parts that ended with "it can't be helped because of specification." Check them and make modifications and adjustments if necessary, as I'm working on it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. That's why people ask if it is okay for mom to be labeled as an elegant tombstone. Oh, I think it made like mnemonic. Okay, from 0 to 450. We're also considering that part. Oh, okay. Many of the players said that even though our lives are centered on the elegant tombstones, is it really okay for us to continue as we are, including the way that we present ourselves? Can we be more user-friendly? And what do we need to do to create a title that will continue to be played in this era and in the future? Changes in the specifications of the Mirage Prism are also part of this effort. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, so the glamour change is also part of that too, because I don't think there's any other game that really has like a massive restriction on like how to like glamour, I guess, if the glam is an option. So 14 was, I guess, like living in the past like a little bit by having that restriction, but then lifting it is great because now it's kind of like a, it makes a lot of sense. So it's cool. The major specification change of the Armorio projection Mirage Prism became a hot topic on X and Blue Sky after the 89 PLL. Yep, that topic was crazy. People were going nuts over it. So wait until the next fan festival and say finally there's a weapon projection. Ooh, imagine actually? That'd be kind of fire, but yeah. I also had the choice to present it in my keynote speech. It's definitely going to be exciting, and I'm going to have one more big story, so it's a little easier. Bitter smile. Oh. One more big there's another. Ooh. Okay. There's another update that we might be expecting come the FanFest for the keynotes. I wonder what that could be though, because if weapon projection and armor projection is like something that is being discussed about, but it hasn't been like showcased, I wonder what that might entail exactly. There's a lot that could be going on, so I have no idea. But if it's like a thing to increase freedom and people's ability to like content design and everything, that'd be pretty stellar. I feel like the 8.0 update is, again, for me, it's looking a lot brighter the more that we get closer and closer to the patches. So like we'll see. However, we talked about whether we should do it right away if it increases the degree of freedom and increases enjoyment for players. As long as logic is established, we will do that what we can immediately. In terms of flexibility and reform on our side, in 7.3 you can only feel it from the content called Pilgrim's Traverse, but for 7.4 you can feel it little by little throughout the content, through including system updates. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense because Pilgrim's Traverse was the first stepping stone of being able to create like variety of player-based content for the entire player base rather than like specificity. So that makes a lot of sense. And 7.4 is going to be expanding on it even further because of the system updates where it's going to be more universal for player bases to like become familiarized with like, you know, UI and like flexibility and all that stuff too. So the flexibility was first established in 7.3. Quantum was questionable, but the idea of pilgrims was fine. And 7.4 I think is where it's hitting me a lot more than it was versus like PT. So like there's that. Arms projection is not the next expansion package. That's what I thought, but hearing what you just said, I was convinced. Oh, okay, so like weapon glam is not a thing? Oh, I see. Let's do what we can for now is an original policy, but it also has the aspect of changing something that's been going on for 12 years. There were voices from within the team saying that if we were going to do that, let's expand, and I didn't think Mushishi would say that. I thought that if we did it for a long time, it would become fixed, but I thought that I want everyone to be happy. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense though, because Yoshipi's always been very receptive to people's feedback, so he's always been very reactive behind people and like what they want, and so I think the glam update is part of that, and I think that's like a great detail to keep in mind of. But sometimes it seems so bold as well, because like I also would have never thought that the restriction would ever get removed for glam. And the thing is, like, if they never made the notification about it actually being expanded, like, and restricting being removed, then like it wouldn't be a bother to me. Like, I'd be fine with it. But now that I know that it's getting removed, now I'm getting more antsy with time, because it's like, dude, like I need this glam update like sooner than later. But you know, we only have 2 more weeks before it's over. So I mean, you know, time is ticking, but we're getting closer and closer. So, but yeah, like I'm getting more excited the more that I'm looking forward to the glam ideas, because like new stuff comes out and it's available for every job. Is just so fascinating and so incredible. So I know it's been a long time for us waiting for this, but a lot of people I know for sure are going to be very happy about it. So it must have been a moment of joy for many players, but I think it's also true that there was some confusion. It was sudden that something had not been touched for many years. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't able to follow the results closely, but after the announcement, I saw the response from various quarters. We changed within our policy for years, some people said, and I guess that's what Yoshida was particular about. Some people said that. However, I would like to preface this by saying that it's just my personal policy, but my personal policy itself has not changed. Because it's a work in the Final Fantasy series, I want him to wear that armor, hold a spear, and stand Kane as proof that he's a dragoon. After all, he was wearing full plate armor, holding a sword and shield, and said, "That's cool. I want the knight to make me feel like I want to do that too." The only thing is aiming that, to be honest, as a game and as FF, we want to aim for that. I believe that because the development team had this commitment, the management team has that goal. We've created this background for the story. We have been able to create a number of contents for players that people will love. However, as I mentioned earlier, we checked the specifications of games around the world from the perspective 12 years ago and now, and the current situation is that there are very few titles that have such restrictions. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, so that's exactly the point. 14 was one of the few games that had restrictions, and so they wanted to become more mainstream by wearing whatever you want. So that makes total sense, actually. Okay, cool. I think that's true. The mainstream is able to wear any custom that they like. Yeah. Yes, and free to play. From the basic free to play titles to the heyday of microtransactions, here referring to the meaning of in-game purchases, it's easier for players to purchase it if it can be worn or equipped by any character or class, and it's easier for players to purchase it if you can use it effectively in the first place. I think the game design decision is a microtransaction type of business scheme is correct. Oh, okay. Interesting that he thinks that way, actually. As it directly affects the customer's purchasing intent. As a result, it is natural that the number of titles for such systems will increase. I mean, that makes sense. A lot of games are becoming free to play and making cool designs that they can incorporate in time over the course of the game's like life cycle, and then just make it like a microtransaction thing. I mean, my thing is like if they start working on that a lot more frequently, then I would be easily convinced. And to think about the idea that they mentioned before about the weapon enhancement glow thing too, and the armor thing, I don't want them to like necessarily take this idea and be like, we're gonna milk the heck out of it. But for me, like, if weapon glows or armor glows or just anything that has like an effect, like, can be purchasable in like the online store, then I'd buy it, you know. But the thing that I would only need to change, at least, is that the online store doesn't let you buy like an entire set. The set thing is a little bit extensive. Because a lot of games, I don't think that all the games actually sell the whole bundle where you can't like individually buy certain pieces unless it is like a premium thing or something like that, right? Like I was immediately thinking of like Infinity Nikki because that game is heavy glam, like it's primarily like a lot of glam, like you decorate your character. So like decorating Nikki, you have individual pieces that you can buy, and then you can get the, you know, like each piece, there might be 3 pieces, right? And then you basically pay $7 for each piece. But if you get the whole thing as like a bundle, you pay like 20, which you save like a little bit of change, I guess, or something like that. But like if I only want one piece, then I want that one piece. You know what I mean? So right now 14 has it so that you can only buy the entire set. So sometimes you have to buy the entire thing, but you only want to wear like one piece. So I'm wondering if they'll change that in the future um because they're trying to pay attention to how other titles release content. There are some games that have like a heavy glam application with like designing, and they let you individualize the pieces you can buy. So I'm hoping that they figure that out because that would be pretty cool. And I'd make me like I mean, if they did that, I'd be a whole lot happier because there are a lot of pieces that I would buy just by itself. But paying for that big price tag is a bit too much. So we shall see. This brings me to the previous topic, but players who enter online games from such systems are not familiar with the FF14 system, even if it's the same online game. Why can't I look stylish with the equipment that I buy? You can do it in other games. Becomes, it would be strange if the wizard was wearing armor. I think that there are some people who will say you should be very particular about your roles, but there are also other people who say that it's a game, so play what you want to wear separately. Yeah, so here's the thing too, right? Because I had that same mentality when I was like early playing this game. It made a lot of sense to me that if I want to be a gunbreaker, I want to wear gunbreaker armor, and I wouldn't wear mage armor. And if I was a mage, I don't want to wear like heavy tank armor because like the logic isn't there. But the problem is that the further that I started going into this game, the much better glam started getting, to the point because like the one set piece that like broke that mold for me was the Nier Automata Alliance raid. When they came out with the Yorha 460 caster dress, like that caster chest piece for female characters, it's like a very black, like tight, like corset dress for the top half, but then the bottom half is very like flowy. Dude, I was so sad that it was like a caster chest piece because I wanted to play it on like either like my dragoon or like my tank or anything else, but I couldn't. But then I was like, oh, you know what though, it's fine because I'll play it on my healer. But then healer doesn't have it, so that was the first piece of gear that I told myself, I was like, man, why can't I wear this as a tank? And I was like kind of like annoyed by it, you know what I mean? But then the further we kept going through Shadowbringers and Endwalker and even in Dawntrail, there are pieces of gear that are out where it's like, dude, I don't want to wear this for this one particular job. I need this for this other job. So that's why now a lot of times I think about this whole like perception of like restriction, and it's like, now I don't care anymore because I want to wear the glam that I want to wear. But I totally get it though, because I know a lot of people also in my community that feel like they don't like the glamour change and that the restrictions should still be like manifested. But I think that if you feel that way, then you should just keep it to yourself that like you want to maintain that restriction for yourself. I think that's fine, you know? Like you might be annoyed seeing a white mage wear like gigantic paladin armor, but like if your character doesn't want to follow that rule, like you have the freedom of choice, you know? So I think that's what I'm really starting to like acknowledge and understand, that I personally really enjoy, because like if I want the freedom, I totally can, and if I don't want it, then like I don't have to. So I understand that that's kind of what it is. So we have continued service so far, but I think it's time to entrust this commitment to our players. I personally love role-playing, and I think that I'll probably tie down each job and play. When I'm a warrior, I only dress like a warrior. Yeah, I mean, that's what makes sense, though. Because that's how I am, right? I mean, I was that way with Gunbreaker and, like, White Mage. I mean, I still kind of have that rule to this day, like, a little bit. Like, for example, like, my Red Mage has to wear red, my Black Mage has to wear black, my White Mage has to wear white, like, etc. But after that, though, like, it kind of just goes whatever, so I get it. However, rather than the imposing policies on the developer, we ask players to be particular about their roleplay. The fact that I'm particular about it means that I'm particular about it as there are players. This is a big reason why I decided to make this decision. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it, actually. The level of commercial services in the world in general, and the concept of normal in particular, continues to be updated. I am grateful that the members of the development team and management teams have continued to sincerely abide by my policies, but since I am in a position of P&D, I am still flexible. I felt once again the need to continue. That's why for the past 6 months I've been saying, if I'm going to do it, I'll do my best. We continue to work on all aspects of the project, and we're still working on it, so we hope that you continue to look forward to the future. We receive feedback and make improvements of the feedback. As a top game of the current generation, we look to provide more advanced and comfortable services. I saw that AF equipment will be included in the abolition of restrictions, but I wonder what will happen to the unique equipment of each race. Ooh, that's a great question. In a literal sense, it eliminates class, job, and level restrictions. Therefore, the identity of the race is barely maintained. This is because races are intertwined with the world's lore and the worldview itself. The design includes culture, living area, etc. And the team asked, what about racial equipment? I also asked, let's leave it at that for now. However, I'm thinking of changing it, the character creation area, little by little. Oh, okay. Um, Oh, you don't mean like outfits. You mean like actual physical characteristics. Okay. For example, Eldon and Makote Moonkeepers have a mole attached to their face in a good position. We've done a graphic update, and now we have more things we can do in the system. So we're thinking of making it possible to attach moles to races that were not eligible. Oh, I think the range suggestions will help us in the future. Okay, okay. That's cool. However, as expected, we're not planning a level where we can attach the horns of Aura to Lalafell, and I don't think we'll do anything in... Oh, okay, okay, okay. So facial features that are natural to like a universal idea can be applied to other races where it's not currently available. But if it's like a universal thing, that makes sense. But if it's a specific thing, it can't be widespread. That makes sense because like Lalafells and Auras are completely different like races, and so you're not going to be able to have like a small Aura or like a Lalafell with Aura horns, which or like a tail, which makes total sense actually. So it makes sense where they're not planning on doing that. And I don't think that they should either. That customization goes like a little too far, but I mean, there are options that they can create to give you that sense of like, oh yeah, like you can still feel this way. So, it makes a lot of sense since a lot of people want to create like the identity for each race. So, okay, okay. And the main quest leads to the next story of the entire world begins to move again. On a different note, in a previous interview, he said about up to Q. Oh, or it's a 7.3. Okay, we will pull the story of the expansion and then return to the next expansion. Please tell us the highlights of the main quest. The story is truly a bridge to the next stage of the story. Just last night, I finished all the checks from the main quest and returned the feedback, but there were about only 4 things that caught my attention. It's very well put together and has a great response. Now, should I tell you and think about it? Okay. At the time, the name was changed to Sages and later to Akatsuki no Keku, but I wanted to make it clear that I didn't understand the character individuality or what was inside them. In the main quest of the old FF14, the main character, the Warrior of Light, was in a position of a bystander, having stories that players couldn't understand happening right in front of their eyes. First of all, while bringing the Warriors of Light to the foray, we must carefully draw each character of the Blood Alliance of the Dawn, okay? We worked on this until 2.0 to 2.55, creating a pattern in which everyone was scattered once and then returned by one, okay? From Jet Black Villains, yeah, so Moon Dawn Finale, okay. We've drawn to each character's blank in a sense. I've drawn to the first half of their lives as well. I think there's still characters I haven't drawn yet, so I'm focusing on that this time. Ooh. Characters that have not been drawn into yet that... The thing is that there's a lot of characters that we've tapped into like a little bit and like either never see again or there is something that we'll probably see going into the next patch and even later the expansion. That's a big hint, but also it's kind of unclear as to who they could be referring to. So the net is widely casted. So like I have no idea. I can't say much about it because it'd be a spoiler, but it's also the starting point of a story not only for the region but in the world as a whole to be moving again. Because I think you feel the feeling. Okay, cool. As mentioned in patch title, a heavyweight division will finally be implemented into the raid series of Korean Heresy, okay, which has attracted a lot of attention in the various fields since release, including unique characters, live audio, and BGM. Effective implemented for is let me first address the subject of the timetable. Last year, we forcibly released Dark Cloud Battle at the end of the year. For sake of our players, we will implement it as soon as possible. That's what I was thinking about at the time, but I really got really angry, especially from Western players. Personally, I think it's game heaven at Christmas at the end of the year. Game we play all games. Oh, okay. I mean, that's fair enough, actually. Christmas is something that you spend with your family, but if you ignore it and play games, you'll end up a different person at home. I was scolded and asked, just look at someone playing from the side, think about how you feel. Last time we made the decision to deliver what everyone expected on schedule. From a broader global perspective, we learned that it was a bad decision. This makes sense, actually, because that's why they Savage is coming out like after New Year's. In the first place, we thought about limiting the patches before release, but in the end, the year-end and New Year holidays for Japanese development and management teams and companies that covered 14 in the first place and are also in December. Oh, I see. So, like, operations will stop from around the middle of the month, so even if you can force a release, you won't be able to provide full support if something happens. Yeah, that makes sense because I feel like if there's like a bug or something, if there was something that needed like a immediate fix, then it would have been pretty problematic. So I don't know if we had immediately anything like that that came off the top of my head, but I know that people were still always like constantly complaining that like you couldn't take time off. Okay. Okay. On the other hand, if you postpone the release of the patch itself, you're putting the cart before the horse, and it's not like only people who played 14 are enjoying 14, or who played Type 0 are enjoying 14 in the first place. Therefore, I took this for. Okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, so they just wanted to appeal to the people that are want to like spend time with family and like Christmas and whatnot. Okay. This makes sense actually. This is what they've already talked about too, so this is related to what I talked about earlier, but in the process of transforming various things, I believe that the schedule for this raid release was a good touchstone. I wonder if the way new equipment should be built and updated, such as the Elegant Tombstone, is suitable for today's times. We are also discussing how to present the equipment renewal process, so we're currently searching for the best specifications for the area. Equipment renewal process, okay. If we say, in the end, at least what so far will be the best pattern, there is a possibility that there will be no major changes, and no, in this day and age, this is not the best pattern. If new ideas emerge, there's a possibility that things will change. I received a question from another media outlet asking, will the release of timing for the next Type 0 return to normal? And I said, instead of going back or not going back, I'll find it best at that time. Oh, okay. So yeah, this is not going to be one of like a one-time thing. It could be very... It can vary a lot between based on like the timing and when their scheduling is, but it makes sense that their goal is to avoid holidays where people are actively not going to be around, or they don't want to be because they want to deal with like, you know, family holidays and that sort of thing. So okay, interesting. Regarding the schedule of such patch release dates and Type 0 release dates, I turned down the invitation for the year-end and New Year holidays and had to make time for schedule. Sorry if that's the case, but at the time I thought about everyone's life work balance and life game balance, so I decided to make an announcement early. So I hope you have fun and have your plan to help you for holidays. Cool. Tell us about the highlights. Okay. The newly released Arcadia Heavyweight is the final installment of the Raid series, but most of the rewarding part of the series is what players liked individually of the characters, is what I received. Of course, the story volume is not as large as the main quest, but the battle side also created content that brings out the individuality of the fighters and was able to include live dialogue and BGM. I am proud that I was able to draw the characters beautifully. This year, I went to game events all over the world year-round, and I'm very happy to see so many people cosplaying as the fighters. It was actually really cool. Yeah, I saw it also pretty much. Everyone was like cosplaying as a lot of the characters from Arcadia, so that's awesome actually. It's the climax and finale when everyone appears, so I'd like you to pay attention to that. The truth is, who is the mastermind? We are very particular about this aspect and gave adjustment instructions. So I would like for you to take a closer look at the mysterious elements and give it a heroic feel. Of course, we pay close attention to the battle, but we'd be very happy if you pay attention to the story and landing of the characters. The Savage will be released in a few weeks, and so we hope you enjoy this very first part. Of course, we'll be aiming to conquer type Savage moves as possible, so be sure to have your equipment in place until the release. Okay, cool. I understand it's equal to the Hildebrand edition, which entertains players every time, but in the previous interview said that everyone is really following the last line, which did with inspection. It's Hildy. Actually, Hildy's final check is tonight, so I can't tell if it's on the edge. Okay. Cool. I checked the plot beforehand, so of course I aware the whole flow, but when they make Hildy, they thrive, even in the Katsuki edition. I never thought that I was playing volleyball in a good way. How does this happen? It's good to be like that, but in a bad way. How does this happen? We must avoid this. As I talked about it before, I'm telling people not to just say Hildy herself, because she's Hildy. That came with okay, wait, I'm going to skim through this like a little bit. And for a story infusion, Hardboiled and Gag, I just love Hardboiled novels such as Philip Marlowe series. Okay. This time okay. I can't believe that a new breeze has birthed into the Hildebrand, which brings lots of prepares. Okay, cool. As for the next question, a new variant dungeon merchant story will be implemented. This is going on for like longer than I thought it was going to be, so I'm sorry. With the addition of the new advanced variant dungeon and another dungeon systems, I believe that the system reflects the change in mindset development outside, what's current responses. Okay. We're making adjustments until the very end, and of course we are getting a feel for it. However, I would like to ask all the players to serve it and enjoy it. As long as I don't see the response here, I'm sure it will mature even if I feel a positive response. If, for example, in Advanced Variant Dungeon, this is the Variant Dungeon Advanced, so not like the not like Criterion Savage, okay? When you defeat the first boss, you will feel a solid response. As players' disposable time continues to decline, in-game players ask themselves, do you want to keep on moving on? Do you want to finish this today? I tried to present this selection to the players in the initial implementation. If you press the exit button and exit midway through, you can control the break yourself, but I thought this was different. The new advanced engine offers personal rewards for each boss you defeat and then ask if you want to continue. Let's say we achieve it here and we cover Conductor. We finished this far today. In order for people to look back on this, we place emphasis on bringing meaning, response, and experience to the content. Right now, I'm playing with the development team and checking and discussing each one by one. cool. Advanced is created so that after experiencing exploration in Merchant Story, you can take on the challenge of fighting against a slightly stronger version of the boss that you can encounter up to a certain extent. To the end, I was able to practice in any order and clear the game. I tried to make it so that you can take your time and aim to clear it. However, the joy of defeating 3 bosses in one challenge is absolutely necessary, so currently we're also offering rewards for defeating 3 bosses in a row in one challenge, which is very good. I'm trying to balance the direction and the sense of accomplishment, including with the team recreating the content and myself. I'm not sure how the players felt. This will be an answer to everything after playing with to hear feedback. Okay, cool. And then as for the variant dungeon, the original Merchant's Tale itself is very well done. I'll leave advanced and variant and criterion aside, but I hope you enjoy those first. The characters are also trending and also very different from the visual before. The visual expression for the variant dungeon is like very impressive, actually. The fact that it looks very like Kingdom Hearts-esque, I think was what a lot of folks were saying was like one of the bigger selling points, so I love that a lot, actually. The BG team did their best. It's a bit technical, but what are you talking about when you don't even change the shader, going back into a picture book? Letting a texture almost for the presentation technique in this case. This is the current generation technique that creates a sense of realism by creating images from realistic textures and filters and displaying them in shaders and lighting. But this time, you shouldn't be reflective in the picture book, so it has to be look sticky and smeared. Originally, a shell shader was supposed to be implemented to achieve this kind of cell look, but this time there's no such thing. Therefore, we make the material parameters themselves solid and eliminate reflections, so then you can't be able to add shading. Oh, in that case, you will have no choice but to draw the shadows manually. PS2 generation techniques is expected, but it's a local idea to even hand draw shadows. But I think it's been a while since I've done most of the textures by hand for the 14 map. Okay, it's hand painted basically. I think my experience in making Pictomancer came in handy. The part about drawing Pictomancer illustrations was something that the VFX team has been trying to do since the last expansion. So I think the BG team took a good look at the taste and the knowledge that they gained, and when I checked it out, the first thing I said was well done. The concept between illustrated background and character also the difficult part. The character shaders have completely different specifications and are more realistic, so I was curious about this while checking it out as well. So I asked them to make adjustments and work on it being textured. Oh, okay, that's really cool. The entire team involved worked towards the goal of entering the book and feel to this story. We are proud of the content can be enjoyed in its entirety, including story and surprises, so we'd be happy if you can play it. Also play it solo. I think the BG team would be happy if you can stop moving forward and take a closer look at the world. I think it'll make you cry and be happy if you can upload a lot of screenshots. Okay, I mean the world looks incredible and it looks so beautiful, and it's very atypical for 14. So there's definitely going to be a lot of people in that area doing screenshots galore, so trust me, that's going to be an easy fix for sure. So there's that. Oh yeah, that's right. I think you'll also enjoy past 7.4 even more so if you played the previous variant dungeon, Aloe Island. Ooh, okay, sounds like we're gonna go back. So background to the story, it's about the Mirara tribe, or the Larafel, which is talked about in 7.0, but there's a big part involved in that area, so if you play before 7.4, I think it'd be a little bit more interesting. Okay. Going back a little bit, I thought that this visual expression was greatly benefiting from the graphic update in the sense that range of things can be done has expanded. How much more is it? Okay. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, just making sure, actually. Okay. What used to have to be done with textures can be transferred to shaders and lighting, as well as escaping. The usual memory size has increased, and the texture size has also been increased. We show sweet feedback, and the atmosphere has changed, but it's also true that the benefits are still immeasurable. Merchant Story has also benefited greatly, and the content has become something that cannot be achieved beforehand. So because we changed the parts that were all done by hand to programmable parts, we plan to continue to be able to do things that were previously impossible, such as being able to control the pupil size and color texture of the pupils within a pic. Ooh, I think it'd be a good idea to get ahead of the curves in interviews, but please look forward to the future. Okay, cool. Graphic challenges are always so fun to like actually see them succeed in things, because you don't really think it's possible, and then they make it possible, and you're like, mind blown by it. 7.4 feature updates of the UI, including new color themes, quick panels, and strategy boards. In addition to the content tends to attract a lot of attention, but I feel that the detailed updates are also important measures for the next 10 years. As for the UI, it didn't start this time, but looking back, it started in the early stages of 14's development, when they came with a mechanism called a cross hotbar. At the time, it would have been around 2011. In contrast to the global standard keyboard and mouse operation style, we aimed to be able to play MMORPGs comfortably using a gamepad, so we believe that we must approach the UI. In the case of MMORPGs, the more things you can do in-game, the more complex the UI becomes, and the more button icons there are. As everyone plays and distributes a game, a screen full of UI will appear in the world, regardless of the players who are used to it. If you're looking at the screen for the first time, ask yourself, what is this game? I think it's often thought to be difficult. Sometimes my play screens and screenshots come out, but people end up saying, is even producer and director's game screen? Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense actually, because I mean, sometimes I look at World of Warcraft's UI sometimes, and like it sometimes scares me because I don't even see the game. All I see is icons and like gauges, and I'm just confused as to like what we're even like looking at. So sometimes even I have not a clue until I actually like sit and like look at it. So, but I never know. The overall mainstream is often a simple UI, however, it will be putting the cart before the horse if the UI is too simple and difficult to use as an MMO. Having said that, I don't think players would really want to see a full screen of UI. We also want people to enjoy their own characters and scenery, and the less UI you can see at a glance, the better. One answer to that question is in the form of a quick panel. Oh, okay, that's cool. It's not like I'm constantly thinking about it and creating it and within the scope of a major update. It took about 2.5 patches to plan, implement, and release the quick panel. Really? 2.5? That means that like after the Ultimate came out, they must have been thinking about this already. That's a lot actually. It took a 1.5 years to create the strategy board after finalizing and the specifications and embarking on full-scale development 2 years ago. Oh, that means that they've been working on it for like a long time actually. Okay, this is the result of going one step further along the way and incorporating a large number of specifications. We've been working for a long time on how to make 14 more comfortable to play and how to prevent other titles from catching up with FF14. Of course, we have no intention of stopping evolution, so we'd like for you to both use the quick panel and strategy board with your own free ideas, and we look forward to receiving your feedback after using them. Okay, cool. A last message to the readers. This time, 7.0 will be. Oh, sorry, wait. 7. The finale will be the 8. Sorry, what? It's weird. This time, 7. The finale will be the 8-person raid content of the X series, Arcadia the Heavenly Throne. We put all our efforts into creating the story, direction, and battles. We want you to enjoy it in its normal form first. I think it's customary for people who enjoy high difficulty Savage raids, in particular, to say that the Savage is coming, so let's finish normal quickly and do something with the equipment. However, since Christmas is at the end of the year, maybe in between this time, we will introduce you to Savage. There is time to implement it. First of all, I'd be happy if you could take a closer look at how it's created, the content in normal form. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm like reading this as fast as I possibly can, and it's a little too fast for my brain. So essentially, because the Savage Raid is coming out like way later than the normal version, he wants us to actually sit down and examine how the fights are implemented beyond like just the simplicity of getting it done. And it makes sense too, because they want us to make sure that we actually, enjoy like the aesthetics. I will say that I've been a thorough examiner of the raids here since the first one with light heavyweight, and I'm so proud of them for being able to make the content like extremely fun. I think the more and more that I think about this raid tier, like it's probably the best raid tier design in the entire game, like so far. There are certain fights that are still like top tier in my eyes, but I think in terms of like an overall in an overall raid tier, there's not a single fight in this raid tier that has been nothing short but incredible. So I'm really proud of their work so far with Arcadian. Arcadian is shaping up to be the best raid tier that they've ever designed, and it goes beyond like the difficulty. It's actually more so about like the aesthetic, the appeal, the design, the implementation of mechanics, the the character relatability. So a lot of people really have not put in this much amount of effort in designing like RP and glam and going to events looking like the characters. All the characters that are in this patch look like they're all relatable, and they're all going to be remembered from time now until the future. Like, it's so unbelievably clear. So again, job well done to the raid team for making such a stellar expansion of raids. So I have nothing to worry about when it comes to the final raids here. I know for sure in my mind that they absolutely went so nuts in this, from music to boss design to difficulty to content to fun. It's gonna all be there. So I can't wait to see more about it. So yeah, I lost my place though. Okay, cool. No. Okay. The main quest will also be released towards the end of the year, so please enjoy it carefully without rushing. At the climax of 7.4, you can see parts such as the story of the keys that connect the world and the fate of the world that stars beyond that. I'm sure you'll feel like your next adventure is coming after summer vacation, so please look forward to that as well. We are also working on creating new variant dungeons, merchant, and custom story, which is the current variant, with the goal of having it be enjoyed by all kinds of players, including those who enjoyed it solo, and those who enjoy it with their families, and those who enjoy hardcore battles. I'm here, as long as I'm doing this, I think that the fan festival will be approaching, and that's all that there's to it. So, The 14 Festival of 2026 will be held in North America, Europe, and Japan, October 31st to November 1st, 2026. So it's just been under a year. It's gonna be quick. There are plenty of patches for system updates, including a quick panel strategy board and major changes to weapon projection. The fun in finding fashions that you couldn't do before has increased significantly, so I hope that you take your time and play your own pace. We are proud that this is a patch that will give you a sense of the future, transformation, and evolution of 14. I myself have been long believed that MMORPGs are games that are played in the present with expectations of the future, so I will work hard to create products that everyone can enjoy for a long time, and thank you for your continued support. Dude, W article. I'm so sorry for a 45-minute like yap, because you know we've been here for the whole time reading the whole thing, trying to like translate, but also like this is the first article of there's 2 more to come, so we shall see. But absolutely stellar article. The fact that the game is going to have such a massive evolutionary step into the future of the game, I think a lot of people have like a lot of doubts, and that makes a lot of sense to me as well. But I think at the same time, I really feel like whatever that they're talking about with the second rebirth of 14 coming to the game's expansion come 8.0 is really going to be eye-opening for a lot of people. I don't know how quickly that'll kind of resonate, but I think it's a great time right now to go through 14, play the story, enjoy the story, and just prepare yourself for 8.0, because the current story is going to be like a big like lead up into the situation, and like it's going to be like when 8.0 comes out, I'm just letting you know that the immersion of that expansion is going to be insane, especially after the US keynote at FanFest gets revealed, because that's going to open everything up. And not to mention, we're still going to be waiting to hear about more updates going into like 7.5 and beyond, in preparation for 8.0. So like there's so much to look forward to, and I can't wait. So I'm so excited. I can't wait for this patch. I can't believe it's already happening. Live letter tomorrow, patch update comes 16th, and we will be busy going into the spring, so it's going to be a fantastic time, and I cannot wait to find more about it. So thank you for watching and tuning in. We'll check out the next article in the next video, and so I will see you there. So thank you for watching, and take care.